everything shifted when I found endurance sports. And like all my goals started to come from within, because like you cannot get through a 250-mile race if you're doing it for other people. Like you will
Right.
lose your motivation and quit. Like
It's not a strong enough why.
Yes, there's no amount of mental toughness that can like be there to like do it for someone else.
Welcome to Long Run Labs, a weekly podcast from the team behind For the Long Run podcast, telling the stories of those running the outdoor industry where endurance and entrepreneurship meet. Quick word about the huddle before we get into today's episode. If you're building a business, you already know how isolating it can get. You're making decisions daily that most people in your life don't fully understand. And the surface level networking stuff, it rarely helps. You walk out of those rooms with a stack of business cards and none of the clarity you actually needed. What my co-founders Jason Fitzgerald, Ross Yellen, and I are building at The Huddle is different. It's a peer advisory community built for early stage founders who want real accountability and real conversation. You get placed in a small cohort of people across different industries who actually have decision-making authority in their businesses. You meet monthly, you workshop each other's problems, and you build the kind of relationships where someone will tell you the thing you needed to hear, not just what sounds good. There are in-person sessions here in Boulder and virtual cohorts open to founders anywhere in the country. The three of us started The Huddle because we wanted this and it didn't exist. If you're at a point where going at it alone isn't working, or you're ready to level things up in your business, go to findmyhuddle.com and fill out the application. Link in the show notes, and we'll be in touch from there. Quick heads up on some events before we go any further. If you're in Boulder for Boulder, I'm co-hosting 2 events, and I want to see you at both. Thursday, May 21st at Scratch Labs Table, a free community shakeout run with Chelsea Sodaro and the Mom Forward Movement, benefiting For All Mothers. We run at 5:30, and then I'm recording a live panel with Chelsea and Kara Goucher right after. Raffle prizes from On, Koros, Rafa, and Wazelle. Registration is free. And on Friday, May 22nd at Auto & Co. on Pearl Street, we're doing Fueling the Long Run, presented by ProBio and For the Long Run. It's real talk on endurance nutrition with trail pro Hillary Allen, pro marathoner Charlie Sweeney, and Dr. Mark Bubbs, a performance nutritionist with a background in the Olympics and NBA. Check out at 6:30, panel at 7:15. $10, and it goes to the Colorado Athletics Project. Auto & Co. has an amazing outdoor patio with beautiful views of the mountains. Don't miss it. Links in the show notes with details for both events. Come say hi. And welcome back. We have Randi Zuckerberg joining on Long Run Labs, a fast follow after our conversation on For the Long Run a few months ago. So Randi, welcome back.
Thanks. It's great to be back here. And, I love talking about the running side and the business side of things. They both fill my cup. So I'm thrilled to be back here kind of geeking out a little with you.
Yeah, we're going to talk about both, more so on the business side this time around. But you are fresh off of Cocodona. So how are we doing today?
Yes, the body is a little bit rough. I feel like I got hit by a truck and then it decided that wasn't enough and it like went in reverse and backed over me again. But it was an incredible week. It was my second time doing Cocodona. I got a 10-hour PR on the course, which was so cool to just see like everything get executed out there exactly the way I was hoping it would. And I feel like I really went into this race thinking about it with a more of a business mindset. And like I thought about my team like it was a startup or, and like I was an entrepreneur. And it was pretty cool to actually see those business skill sets be able to play out in a multi-day endurance event.
We've talked about how running is Randi in her main character era. Talk to me about the PR, the 10-hour PR, and doing it as a team and making your way to Flagstaff. Like, what does that do for you?
Yeah, so I went into it's interesting because a race like Cocodona is both a solo event and a team event. And it's hard to describe that to people who haven't been in it. Like at the end of the day, yes, I was the one who went from the start line to the finish line. Like I was the racer who put those miles on my feet. But I think what people don't know is the extent that it is actually like very much a team event. And like my success as a runner is also like based on how well my team and my crew executes out there and how in sync we are and aligned on goals. So last year I finished on Friday night. The race starts on Monday morning. You have until Saturday late morning for the cutoff. I finished on Friday night, so I finished about 12 hours ahead of the cutoff last year. My goal this year was to try to get as close to like a full day ahead of the cutoff as I could. And that meant, I mean, there was a lot of strategy that went into doing that. There were a lot of changes that we need to make for efficiency on the crew side. And there were a lot of changes that I needed to make as an athlete. And I think the advanced planning that we all did as a crew, the way we laid things out, and then the way we problem solved on the fly in the middle of the race, like it felt like we were a team in a locker room, like just kind of being like, all right, what's the next play? What do we do here? And that made it so special to me because I got to feel both like it was a main character moment for me crossing the finish line, but also like I got to share this incredible experience with some of the people that I love and care about most in the world. And like we'll always have that together.
Do you think that running gives an unfair advantage to entrepreneurs?
You know, I'm not sure if it's entrepreneurs, but I think that in these multi-day events, your ability to problem solve and to pivot and to like feel confident and calm pivoting. So maybe even parents have an unfair advantage because I feel like every day as a mom of 3, I'm like in this unknown, uncharted territory where I'm like constantly pivoting and trying new things to be successful. So I think entrepreneurship is a very similar mindset to that, where like you just go into it being comfortable, getting uncomfortable. Like you throw yourself into the deep end every day and have to get out of the pool. And a multi-day ultra is like that. It calls upon that same skill set. Like, you know, things are going to go wrong. You just don't know what those things are going to be. Like, for example, I had never had a nosebleed in my entire life. I'm in my mid 40s. I've never had a nosebleed. That's not a thing that even like entered my mind. I had an 8-hour-long nosebleed out on the course. Like that wasn't even a thing I thought in advance to manage. And yet, like, I ran almost 50 miles with like tissues shoved up my nose and like my pacers just constantly like wiping blood off my face for 8 straight hours. Like that was not a thing that any of us could have planned for in advance or thought of. But it's a thing that happened. And so like you either freak out or you like dig into your problem solving ability and you're like, okay, how are we going to get through this? How are we going to get through this until the next problem crops up and then the next? And it's kind of what makes it so fun and so exciting.
I love it. Okay, so speaking of decision making, you are a really busy person. You have a lot of stuff on your plate at all times. You have 3 kids, you're running multiple businesses, you're investing, you're running, you're doing all these things. How do you pick where to spend your time?
That's such a great question. And I think, you know, I've had to get a lot better over the years at saying no or giving myself permission to like ruthlessly prioritize a few I have a mantra called pick 3 on this exact topic. And it comes down to the fact that like, even if you think you can do a lot of things well, you really can't. So like, you really can only pick 3 things to do excellently at any given time. And you can like switch up what those 3 things are. Like you can switch them up every day. You could go through a phase. So you want balance in the long run of your life. But if you're truly going for excellence and mastery, like you get 3. And so my mantra goes like this: work, sleep, family, friends, fitness, pick 3. And like everyone at first argues that they can pick more than 3 of those things. No one can. And it's just a matter of like giving yourself permission to ruthlessly prioritize what you want to do. So I feel like that's something I've really worked on hard over the last few years, is giving myself permission to try to be excellent and to not do everything and to like try to go for mastery in a few areas. So right now, I mean, because I love running and endurance sports, a lot of what I'm doing, both personally and professionally, are in that area. when I'm not running myself, I serve on the board of directors of New York Roadrunners. We put on the New York City Marathon, 40 plus events a year. I am an angel investor and advisor to several different startups and tech companies in the endurance athletic space. So trying to use some of my knowledge of Silicon Valley and technology in order to apply it. And I just love being so immersed in an ecosystem like that professionally and personally, because when I walk into a casino, I don't want to just play at the blackjack table. I want to own the entire casino. And for me, like that gives me so much joy, is to feel like I play a role in the entire ecosystem.
Yeah, I love it. And it's like you can wear multiple hats at the same time. And so, ironically, we were just talking about Phil from Laurel before we started
Yeah.
recording. And Phil, I've asked this question to Phil as well. And for him, he's like, I have time for three things. I spend time with my family, I spend time on running, and I spend time on work. And so when I can do two of those things at once, like it checks when someone can check multiple boxes. And so we ran 10 miles this past weekend or yesterday, and we had run 8 miles, and then we stood around in the parking lot for 15 minutes talking. And he was like, okay, I'm going to go run, another 2 miles. I was like, Phil, why didn't you say that 15 minutes ago? We could have been running instead of standing here and checking multiple boxes. So yeah, I love the consolidation or the efficiency that is unlocked when you can check these multiple boxes at a time, and when the personal passion can overlap with the professional focus as well.
Totally. And that's why I think like it was so cool for me to have a team out at Cocodona with me, because like training for a 250-mile race is very isolating and very lonely. But the fact that like I had this whole crew, like we kind of felt like we were on this North Star journey together this whole past year, meant that like I could put training and friends in the same bucket. Yeah. And like even like for a lot of the months leading up to the race, and I did feel bad because I sort of had to tell all my other friends, like, hey, if you're not on the Cocodona journey, like we can't be friends for a few months. Like I just don't have the time to prioritize. Like only the people coming to Cocodona with me can be my friends right now. But yeah, it is great when you can kind of fill two buckets with one effort.
I love it. So you mentioned the angel investing. I imagine you're getting pitched constantly. How do you evaluate the framework for what makes something an opportunity that you want to explore? And the reason I ask this, I get pitched constantly, and
sure you
do. I assume that it's like 50x for you. How do you evaluate and how do you think about where you dedicate your time and capital?
So first of all, that's why I tend to be very focused on kind of like one area at a time. It's hard to invest in things you don't understand. And that's where it becomes really risky and a little dangerous. And just, I also like to invest where I can add value. Like if I'm putting a check into something and time, I like to know that like I can really provide value to the entrepreneur. So that's why, a lot of what I'm investing in right now is the intersection of technology and endurance sports. And what I love about that is that I am so enmeshed as an athlete in the endurance sports. If something is an actual problem, I've seen it. And I really subscribe to like the Warren Buffett style of investing, where he's like, you know what? I'm a simple man. If I like something, millions of other people are going to like it too. And that's why it's like he's like an investor in Coca-Cola and McDonald's. And I often feel that way too. I was like, I'm a mom of 3. I live in an urban environment. Like, yeah, I run these crazy races, but like I also go to Orange Theory and walk in the park and like go get coffee and athleisure. So like if I like something, or if I see that it's a need, like I'm pretty confident that millions of other people like me are going to like it too. So like my first angel investment in the space was a company called Jonji. And like it was the first clothing that I put on in athleisure that I was like, this is like functional and it looks good. And like I started noticing that a lot of people around me at these races were wearing Jonji, and like, it just opened my eyes enough as like a user and as someone who's like looking at trends and customer behavior. And I was like, all right, this is a company that I want to be a part of. And, I feel like sure enough, they've been exploding since then. And, that's sort of my MO is I like to understand a market very deeply and then also understand how I can add value to that company.
Mike and Dave of Johnji are wonderful. I've known them since 2013, and that product just keeps getting better. And when I heard that you were involved with it, I was like, yes, that is a smart bet by Randi. But it's been so cool to watch the explosion of that brand in the trail and ultra space. They were a road brand for a while, or not a road brand, but they were trying to figure out who they were, and ultimately they've seemed to have nailed it because those shorts have so many pockets and they hold so much.
It's awesome. I mean, my husband is very particular, and I brought him a pair of Johnji shorts back, like initially when I was thinking of making the investment. And he's like, no, I have enough shorts, like give them to someone else. I don't even want to try them. And I finally got him to put them on. And now like he will not wear anything else other than Johnji. And like the second I saw that, like he didn't have to lie to me. He didn't have to pretend. And the second I saw that, I was like, oh yeah, no, this is a good one.
So let's talk about the intersection of technology and running in the evaluation of where you can add value to these brands. So we've talked at length about Phil and Laurel and Brooksy, and Laurel is a brand that I invested in 2024, and I'm investing again, and I've been advising Phil in a variety of ways and working with Phil in a variety of ways over the years. And I've said this on the podcast before, but like Phil is the kind of person where if he said, we got to go through that burning room, I'd be like, right there behind you, buddy. Like you tell me and I'm there. How did you look at that brand and the opportunity that's ahead, and decide to explore that?
Totally. Well, I've been very interested in the intersection of AI and running for a long time now. I was also an early angel investor in Runna, which is like an AI coaching app that was recently acquired by Strava. And so I've been very interested in like the role that AI and machine learning can play in endurance sports, especially since it's an activity that seems to be kind of the biggest like antithesis to AI. Yeah. Like I spent all of last week at Cocodona being like, this is like the one thing AI cannot do. Like AI, like I am literally running through the mountains for 4 straight days. Like how crazy that I'm like both obsessed with AI and doing that. But for me, I spent a lot of time thinking about like, it kind of makes sense that those two things rise together. Like the more we outsource our brains to computers and AI, the more we also crave these like deeply human experiences of adventure and suffering and hard work. But I think there are some real moments that AI can be incredible. And I think what stood out to me about Laurel when I heard about that was like how much it can improve the experience both for the runner and for the people who love that runner. I've gone to so many events. My husband is a triathlete. I've gone to so many events where he takes off on the bike portion, and then I just like don't have contact with him for 3 hours or
100 miles. Yeah.
Yeah. And he, and then like I'll see him slow down on the app, and I worry about him, but like the context I'm missing maybe is that he's going up a hill or he's like into a headwind or like maybe he's actually doing incredibly well for like the conditions. But like all I see is like 4 miles later, I see that he slowed down and then I panic. So when I heard about Laurel and I heard about how AI can be giving kind of like contextual updates in addition to tracking an athlete, like it just made so much sense. Like how cool is that to be a spectator and see like, hey, your husband's slowed down, but actually he's like exceptionally outperforming the field because he's on like a steep hill and he actually is like climbing the leaderboard right now. Like, and seeing things like that, or like understanding the course more and understanding what the athlete is going through. And I really think that that is like the perfect intersection of AI helping us be more human and connecting us. And so that's the kind of technology that I love to see, because like I can immediately understand as an athlete and a spectator how it adds value. And I can immediately see like, okay, that's not just an entrepreneur who's like wants to do something in AI. So they're inventing a problem that doesn't exist. Like this is like actually a huge white space that exists in that racing culture.
Yeah, the broadcast and the spectator experience. I mean, the piece that did it for me, I was watching my girlfriend run the 2022 Boston Marathon, I think,
Mhm.
and I missed her. And
Yeah.
so I missed her at Boston College, and I was checking the app, and I was trying to see where she was, and then all of a sudden she was further inbound than I was, and
Yeah.
I like sprinted from mile 21 to mile 25 to try and catch her, and I
Yeah.
couldn't. And
Wow.
she spent that whole period being like, Jon was inside. He missed me. It was wet out. He didn't
Yeah.
want to be outside. And so it's like, how do we that's a huge problem in addion to
Right, because
the
it demoralizes the runner.
totally.
It could like break up your marriage. Like, no, I'm just kidding. It's not. But yes, I
She
mean,
was mad.
I'm sure. Can I like bring it dark for a
Yeah.
second? Is it
Yeah.
okay? 'Cause, like I've been thinking a lot about what just so a runner passed away on the course in Cocodona, and it hits extremely hard because I knew her, and she is also a 40-year-old female from New York, and so like it really hits home. And I've been thinking a lot that if we had had technology like Laurel out on the course, and like people knew that she stopped moving for like a certain amount of time, like maybe we could have prevented that. And I think that's like also the kind of thing where AI might even know before we know that you're struggling. Like AI might be able to detect like, hey, like your runner is slowing down beyond what is normal, or like your runner is struggling beyond what is normal. Like we need to get medical attention out on the course. And like AI should be able to identify patterns of like heat stroke and heart attack and things like that, even like before we can as humans. And so I've just been thinking a lot, not just about like how AI can make it like fun to see where your runner is on the course, but like literally, could we have saved that woman's life if we had AI tracking? And I've been just, sorry to get dark. I've just been I can't think of a more important use for technology than that.
Yeah, and sorry for your loss. It was really sad to see that happened, and wonder like can that be prevented in the future. And so just to back up a little bit, Laurel is a spin out of the company Brooksy that puts on a bunch of races in the US, and Laurel is specifically an enhanced tracking technology that uses Bluetooth versus RFID. So it's a much lighter and leaner and less expensive operation. It doesn't require cell service because it can even ping satellite. And so it can be used in these remote locations that don't require, timing mats to be deployed every 5K. And you can get this trend analysis of like, well, somebody should have been moving and they're stopped for a while, that you don't need to, like maybe they're just going slowly between this 5 mile stretch versus they've stopped moving. We know that they're not moving. They haven't moved for 2 hours. And nobody has been near them to double check, kind of a thing.
Mhm.
So to your point, like that safety piece, Phil and I have talked a lot about the ability to work with local law enforcement and rescue operations, and enabling them to have access to this information when people are out in the backcountry or
Totally.
off
Like
grid.
I know that obviously like we hit some really hot days out there this week. And that's where I think AI can know, like, okay, AI can be like, hey, okay, we know that humans slow down like 10 to
Right.
20% as like the
This is
temperature.
normal. Yeah.
This is a normal amount of slowdown. But then it could start to be like, hey, this is an abnormal amount of slowdown. Like this person is struggling.
Yep.
And like the AI should be able to know that, like maybe even before we know that.
Totally. So pivoting a little bit, I've been building this podcast network that requires trust or leverages trust as the main differentiator and access point. You help build infrastructure that enabled mass reach and mass scale. I'm going the opposite to say niche audience. Where am I wrong? Where am I right? What's Randy's take on mass reach versus niche
No,
audiences?
first of all, this is one of those beautiful questions where there's no wrong answer. Even from being on the start lines of Silicon Valley in like the very early 2000s, I saw like different companies take very different viewpoints to this. Like, and in fact, there were a lot of early social media companies that just prioritized mass reach. And even like in the early days of Facebook, we locked it down to like just people at your college or just people in your network. Like we were really prioritizing deep communities over mass reach. And so I think there's no wrong or right answer to that. But I do think we are in a world right now where people are craving connection and they are craving going deep on something that they feel passionately about. Like 10 years ago, you never would have thought to put out a podcast that was like multi-hours long. Like podcasts all had to be like 12 minutes and short attention spans. And now I think like people love these like 2-3 hour long deep dive podcasts and long shows and binge watching entire seasons. And people are not afraid to go deep on things that they love. So I think it's a great philosophy.
You've got a Sirius XM channel as well, so you're going both deep and broad. What is it about the long form media, long form content that you love? You were talking about like short attention spans. I have ADHD, and I find that like I can't focus on something for an hour unless it's a podcast. It's like the one thing that I can do a deep dive on.
I agree with you. It's funny. I started my Sirius XM show back in 2014. So that was like before the podcast boom. And people were like, why would you focus on audio? That's so uncool. Everything in 2014 was like video and flashy. And I always had this perspective that like audio is so intimate. It's one of the only places that you like really almost get your listeners' undivided attention. Like, sure, maybe they're exercising or they're commuting or they're doing something, but like you're like getting close to their undivided attention. And that's so rare and it's so intimate. And there's something about like being in someone's ear that is just such a cool medium. And so I've always loved audio for that reason. And yeah, with my Sirius XM show, it's an hour. I usually have like 2 to 4 guests on it. So like I'm moving pretty quickly. And I do sometimes wish that I could deep dive a little more with the people on my show than just having like 12 minutes with them. But it's also been a good skill set for me about how to get a good conversation out of someone in 12 minutes. And it always shocks me how deep you can go in a short amount of time. So that's something I've been loving. And I'm coming up, on, I guess, 12 years of doing my show.
As you think about the type of content to share with people, are you building for yourself? Or are you doing it because it's a personal curiosity?
Yeah, it's a little of both. Sometimes I'll base shows around like a topic that I want to know more about. So like I've been doing a lot of AI content in the past year just because that's something that I desperately want to know more about. And so I get to sit on the radio for an hour and ask questions to people who are way more knowledgeable than I am. I was extremely deep in crypto for a while, several years ago. And so I got to, really deep dive on blockchain technology and everything around that and learn. So I feel like anytime that I have an interest or a passion in something, it's a cool way to explore that. I've also sometimes like vetted startups on my radio show. So like sometimes if I'm interested in investing in something or learning a little more, like I'll have the founder on my show and talk to them and kind of like see how they do under pressure or see how they do in that setting and get a sense for it. So I feel like that show serves many different purposes for me.
I'd love to hear more about the exploration of AI. It's something a rabbit hole I've been down for a while.
Yeah.
And I was, again, talking with Phil about it yesterday. He was like, the craziest thing about AI, this is the worst it'll ever be. And it will only get better every day from here on out. And it's pretty damn good today. So tell me more about how you're using it and the exploration that you've had.
Yeah. So I've been, a lot of the focus on my show, and I think just in the industry in general right now, is Claude and Anthropic, and basically how AI has like completely shifted the role of computer engineering in organizations. When I was out in Silicon Valley, engineers were gods. Like you almost like weren't allowed to make eye contact with the engineers. They were like George Clooney.
They need to be busy. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like,
don't look at them.
Yeah, it's like, don't look at them. Don't distract them. They're the most important people in the room. Like, let them eat first. Don't
Yep.
don't like,
no
tiptoe.
lines.
And so it's wild to see this like total shift where like someone with zero engineering skill can like actually make a very functional app in like 2 days.
Right.
And like the way that has already and will shift the entire way that like companies get built and technology is executed. Like that is my main like deep dive area right now, because that's going to change everything. It's going to change everything about how startups are run, how companies are run, how we think about our own skill sets. Like everyone can think of themselves as an engineer now. So even for Cocodona, my crew chief, Mary Claire, who has like never been a software engineer for one day of her life, like with Claude, built this insane tracking app that our crew could use, where they basically were like punching me in and out of aid stations and sending each other notes and feedback and getting real time on like how hot it was out on the course and what was going on. And like AI was telling them how much water I needed. And I mean, so much. And she built all of that in 2 days with Claude as a non-engineer. And like, that's the kind of stuff that just like up levels teams and up levels like output and efficiency in ways that like we can't even begin to comprehend as the AI gets better, like how much those things will get better too. So I almost feel like we're going to be in this world where like companies don't even need engineering teams. They need almost like business solutions teams that like are so focused on an outcome of success for the company. And like AI agents is just like one tool in their arsenal instead of like that being like an entire software engineering team. And that starts to like get me excited thinking about like entire industries changing like that.
Yeah, and it's so fascinating. I saw a tweet that was like, nobody's actually working less due to AI, I was like, yeah, that's true. It's just
people are
more
working
efficiently.
More. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like you have this, you can just have ideas and then you can just execute on ideas without needing to, put a team together to do it.
Right. I mean, so many humans are so creative. Like we have like limitless potential in our ideas and our imagination, but we have been limited in being able to execute on those ideas. Like, Mary Claire could have, last year had that same idea, but like no one was going to execute it. Right. So like we didn't do it. And now all of a sudden at her fingertips, she has the ability to like have an idea and then make it happen. And it just like, it's a total unlock for human creativity and ingenuity. And like, that's the kind of stuff that gets me super fired up.
What do you think it does for innovation? And I ask because we're starting to see a lot of companies go down the same track. So last week alone, Google and Hims both released a product that is basically like, upload your blood data and get analysis. And I'm working with Eternal, and Eternal has been building this as well. And the app itself absorbs blood work, wearable information, and then has been trained on how Eternal clinicians actually give care. So it's like a little bit more than just that totally, commercially available data set. It's a pretty refined set. But like we're seeing health programs and these types of personalized apps and whatnot, like all go down similar paths. How do we then differentiate on what is a high quality solution if everyone has access to the same tools?
That's a great question. And I think anytime like a new tool comes out that changes everything, at first there's like a wild west where it's like a total land grab and a billion people are doing it. Like we saw that with the iPhone. When the iPhone first came out, like there was an app for everything, like a billion apps for everything. And then all of a sudden we were like, oh, actually, like most of the apps are useless and they're garbage and they don't need to like actually be
just
their
need
own
iMessage
app.
and Twitter.
Correct. And then it's like, okay, so then like everything got pared back down to the essentials. Like we were hoarders at first, and then we're like, time for spring cleaning. And I think like I've seen that happen every time there's a new technology that changes the game. And that's what's happening right now, right? Like anyone can build with these tools. And so people are excited. It's the Wild West. They're like, they can say the word AI in a pitch deck and raise funding. So like, of course, everyone's going to do it. And then we're going to hit a moment where it's like, all right, just because you can do it, does that mean you should? Like, does AI need to solve everything? And I think like we're probably about a year out from that like spring cleaning moment. So as an investor, what I tend to do with a new industry like this is like I kind of just watch it for a year or two. Like I don't make that many investments unless I feel like extremely compelled. Like, and I love the entrepreneur specifically. I kind of just watch the industry. And then when I see where the shakeout is falling, that's when I kind of make my move.
If you're enjoying Long Run Labs, we'd love it if you took a moment to leave a review. It only takes a minute, but it helps the show reach more people like you. If an episode has helped you think differently about your business or career, made a long run fly by, or taught you something new, scroll down in your podcast app and tap those stars and write a review. Thank you for your support. This episode is brought to you by Popfly. If you're a brand trying to reach outdoor, travel, and adventure audiences, Popfly is where you should be running your creator program. It connects you with the largest community of adventure creators on the planet, people who actually use the gear, live the lifestyle, and have built real trust with their audiences. Popfly handles the whole operation. Affiliate links, discount codes, creator and ambassador collaborations, all in one place. No more chasing people down over email. You scale brand momentum, track what's actually working, and every mention comes from a place of credibility because the creators you're working with genuinely mean it. Go to popfly.com to check it out, and if you want to reach out to them, let them know that we sent you.
I use the example of like podcasts and video. Like we live in a world of endless content, right? Like anyone could make a show tomorrow. And so like what makes a show actually stand out is like extreme credibility and expertise, right? Like people, like in a world of endless noise and content, like expertise matters more than ever before. Like people want to know like why they should listen to someone. So I think like we're going to start seeing things like that around AI also, where it's like, okay, I think who built it is going to matter. Like, I think people are going to really care about like who is like the person behind the data sets and the data science, and like who is the person who is putting like their own bias on the AI a little bit. Like,
does that have to do like what their agenda is, or the credibility that they bring to it?
It could be anything from credibility to political agenda to like gender bias to like, you know, really anything. Like there's a lot of AI apps that I see now that I'm like, oh, that was done by a dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't speak to me, like clearly like built by dudes putting like their ideas into the AI. And so I think like eventually, again, the AI will get smarter and smarter, and it won't matter like who put in the data or like who it got to know to like give the answers it gives. But I think right now it really matters. So those are the things that I think about. I think like who's behind the AI and the data like matters deeply, much more than we think it does.
Okay, so speaking of the entrepreneur, the operator, I want to go back to what you were talking about before as it relates to investing. There are a lot of people that listen to this that are building brands. or wanting to build a brand, how do you evaluate an entrepreneur for like, hey, this is somebody that I want to bet on?
Yes. First of all, I'm going to make a blanket statement that like I actually never invest in a company. I only invest in an entrepreneur because like every company I've ever invested in has changed from like what they originally
Right.
pitched me to what they end up doing. Like I don't think any company has ended up the same, nor should they. The
Right.
world changes, tech changes. And so that's why for me, like I invest in people, not things. And I invest in the kind of people who like when like massive things change, they're like, that's the person who I want to be in the trenches with, like trusting that they're going to roll up their sleeves and they're going to pivot and they're going to be resilient and gritty. Like I want the kind of person who can finish Cocodona. Like I want that equivalent as like the entrepreneur that I'm backing, that like when like they start to suffer and their feet are broken and they have an 8-hour bloody nose, like they're not going to give up on that business. Like they're going to get to that finish line. And so like having been an athlete like that, I feel like I can identify that in other types of skill sets. Like I don't need an entrepreneur to complete Cocodona, but I need to like recognize that same fire in their eyes that they're going to finish what they start. And I feel like having done that myself, like I can now identify that in other people.
I went to a pitch showcase by Wildwood here in Boulder last week, and they talked about businesses need 3 things. And those 3 things are a wave, a surfer, and a surfboard. The only thing that can change is the surfboard. Like the surfboard is the product and it almost like doesn't matter. You need a momentum to solve a problem or a problem that needs to be solved. And you need a surfer who can like do the thing. And
Yes.
and that person can adapt to changing, surf conditions or swap out the board or whatever. Do you think that like ability to swap out the board and just like learn and iterate as you go is something that is just in someone, or can that be learned? How do you go about refining that kind of like the dog in the fight?
Yeah, I think, I think there's some things that can be learned and some things that can't. Like, I think a lot can be learned. Okay. Like for, again, like, sorry to keep bringing this back to Cocodona, but I think a lot about like ultra endurance sports and entrepreneurship because they go so hand in hand. So like we ended the race at mile 230, you summit a mountain alone. Like it's like the cruelest thing that you can, it is a difficult mountain and you summit it alone for the final 20 miles of the race. Now, 5 years ago, like if you had talked to me or had a conversation with me, like, and told me that like I would be the kind of person to do that, I would have laughed in your face. Like I've never even like put on a hydration pack at that point in my life. I never even like worn a watch that navigated like I would have laughed in your face and been like, there is no world that you put me on a mountain alone to navigate it, let alone at mile 230. But you know what? I fell in love with the sport. I set my eyes on a goal and I learned those skill sets and I learned it and I showed up. And like, I showed up prepared with my gear and like confidence and I like got that mountain. And like, so part of me feels like humans can really learn anything. If I can learn how to do that and get to the point where I'm like confident doing a mountain by myself, like anyone can learn anything. But what couldn't be learned was like the passion that I had in me to acquire those skills and to get it done. Like the fact that I felt so passionate about completing this race that like I was going to learn whatever I needed to do to get it done.
Where does that come from?
Like, yeah, that's such a good question. Like, I feel like I've a little bit always had that dog in me. And like, if you met my mom, like she's like the you know what I mean? Like people laugh. Like people will ask me like, Randi, like, where did you get so like crazy to do things like this? And then they'll meet my mom and they'll be like, never mind. Like we get it. Like she like super has that dog in her too. So I'm not like, that's the piece that I'm not sure if it can be learned or like if you have it in you. And the jury's still out on that. What do you think?
I think you either have it or you don't. And those that have it, you can refine like how it manifests. But like the tenacity and the like I'll go down swinging kind of a vibe,
Mhm.
or I'll just fuck it, I'll figure it out. Um I think you either have it or you don't.
Yeah. So I think, yes. So I agree with you. So I think you either have the dog or you don't. But if you have it,
You can,
you
yeah.
can learn the skill sets that you need, but also you can surround yourself with people that might not like have as much of a dog, but like feel like fall in love with your goal enough to like fill in all the gaps too that you're missing. And that's why like I don't think it's enough to just have the dog in you. I think you have to like learn the skills and like and surround yourself by the right people. And so like I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs who like have that dog in them but still fail, and it's because like they don't fill that in and support it with like all the other things that you need to be successful.
What does success mean to you?
And you know what? Success is constantly shifting for me. Like I have had success. Like I've measured it in financial outcomes. I've measured it in um, like storytelling and press and like how something looks. I've measured it in like joy and personal fulfillment. So I think the definition of success is always changing. And like sometimes it changes even mid project or like
Yeah.
mid goal. Um, and like, for example, like last year when I went into Cocodona, I was like, I have something to prove. Like I need to get to that finish line and show everyone that like I'm the kind of person who could finish Cocodona. And this year, my mindset was so different. I was like, I already proved it. Like I already showed people that I'm the kind of person that can like see something through to completion. So like I had a totally different goal this year. I was like, I'm only racing myself. Like I didn't even care about anyone else in the race. I was like, I just want to.
Except Rachel.
Yes, yeah. Everyone was following Rachel. She's amazing. But I was like, I just want to be like the best version of myself, and success for me like looks like me getting to the finish line and like feeling like I gave 100% of what I could give to be better. And like, also I want to finish that race smiling. So like success for me was like, I don't want to limp through that finish line. Like I want to leap through the finish line with joy. And like, I need to do whatever I need to do in the middle of the race to be able to like finish that way. And so that was like a wildly different version of success just 1 year later.
You just said the word joy. Are success and joy different for you?
No. And I think different people like this is where things just get wildly personal. Like for me, excellence is joyful. You know, like people are always asking me, like I love to like run fast and I love to like win. And people are always like, well, like don't you want to like slow down and enjoy it or party pace? And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like for me, like winning is fun. Like being fast and winning is joy. Excellence is joyful for me. But that's not true for everyone. Sometimes like people like excellence is suffering or like, you know, people have different definitions of that. But for me, I've always found joy in mastery and pursuing mastery. I don't know what do you think?
Yeah, I love that. And it's like the ever evolving goalposts and the pursuit of what's next is like, for me, the journey is the destination, and it's cliche to say, but like I love doing the thing and the goal almost doesn't matter, which kind of leads to another question that I'm super curious your take on. Are you familiar with Andrew Wilkinson and the book Never Enough?
No, but now I need to add it to my list.
So Andrew grew up like low to middle class and built agencies and businesses that landed him a billionaire on paper in his, I think, 30s or 40s. And he wrote a book called Never Enough, which is outlining the hedonic treadmill of like, you just always need, like, you're almost there. And once you're there, you'll be happy. And so he talked through this concept, the hedonic treadmill of like you're never satisfied, you're never quite there. And he interviewed increasingly wealthy people, 100 million net worth, 250 million net worth, half a billion net worth, a billion, and they kept saying, "I'll be happy when I have 2x what I have now." I don't pretend to know your personal finances, but I imagine that you meet a lot of these people that are wealthy and happy or not happy. And I'm curious what that relationship is when it comes to finance, happiness, joy, and like the pursuit of more.
Yes. You know what? It's so, oh my gosh, I've been thinking about this so much. And I actually was just thinking about this yesterday because while I was out in the mountains running Cocodona, like almost everyone that I knew from my Silicon Valley days was at the Met Gala paying $100,000 a ticket to like be a peacock on display, right? And like, listen, I love looking at those photos. Like if people have the means
and you were being a dirtbag in the desert.
If people have the means to go to that and it brings them joy and they're supporting a cause, like go ahead. But for me, I think that was the biggest illustration of people who need other people's approval to be happy versus like people who are doing something for yourself. And for me, I think I actually, like, since I got on this endurance sports journey, I feel so much more at peace with my life than I ever did. Like when I was in Silicon Valley, I was chasing all the wrong things. I was chasing money and I was chasing power and I was chasing other people's approval and thoughts of me. And you will never be happy. You're exactly right. That it will never be enough. If your motivation is driven externally by what other people think of you, you will never be satisfied. And then like everything shifted when I found endurance sports and like all my goals started to come from within. And because like you cannot get through a 250-mile race if you're doing it for other people. Like you will lose your motivation and quit. Like
it's not a strong enough why.
Yes, you're not, there's no amount of mental toughness that can like be there to like do it for someone else. And so like as soon as my goals started shifting intrinsically and I started like doing things for myself, I felt like so peaceful and calm in my life. And it was the first time that I felt like I have enough. I am enough. And like I started to feel richer than I've like ever felt in my entire life, like by like realizing that my goals were coming from within. So sorry if that sounds like a little woo-woo or a little like therapy session here, but I do now, I feel sorry for like people that I see who are chasing other people's approval and like chasing what other people think of them because like I know that they're going to be stuck on the treadmill for life as long as that's what matters for them.
If you had the ability to speak to the version of like the 2010 Randi, do you think she would have believed what you just said?
No, she wouldn't have believed it. She was so stuck in that mindset of like caring what other people thought. And you know what? Like, I thank her for that because like the fact that she cared what other people thought and like drove her to pursue money and pursue those things, like she set me up for success to be able to do what I'm doing now, right? Like her pursuit of that, like set our family up so that I can be at peace now. And so like, even though my mindset has shifted, like I thank her for like having those values at that point of her life. I do think that I wish that I could like tell a younger version of myself that like you know, things don't end when you're in your 40s. I think I always had this thought that like I had to hustle and do all of that in my 20s or 30s because you get to your 40s and you get smaller and like opportunities go away. And here I am in my 40s feeling like I'm actually like the most badass version of myself that I've ever been. And I think like if I had known that at a younger age, it might have given me a little more like confidence to make different decisions.
Reminds me of a conversation I had on this podcast with Christian Rawls, who's a entrepreneur, a coach for entrepreneurs, and he brought up a book called The Gap and the Gain. And the gap refers to who you are today and who you think you want to be or who you want to be. And the gain is the look back to say, wow, I've grown a lot in the last 5, 10, 20 years kind of a thing. And he's like, we spend too much time thinking about the gap of who we are now into the future versus what we've gained over the last 1, 5, 10 years.
Yeah. It is beautiful to think that way. I think a lot about transformation because it's impossible to take on something hard in life, like starting a company or having a family or taking on like a giant endurance race. It's impossible to take on something that hard and be the same on the other side of it, like no matter what the outcome is. And so I've just thought a lot about like what transformation means. Um, I never like set out to like fall in love with endurance sports. Like, in fact, when I started to fall in love with it, I resisted it because like I was like, no, I like my life the way it is. And like, I almost saw myself getting on this train and knowing that my life would never be the same again. And like, I would be changing as a person. And I was like, no, like I'm not seeking change. I like my life the way it is. And so sometimes also like you go on a journey of change and transformation without choosing it. And that like is also a kind of an interesting thing in life that sometimes like it finds you. You're not always like seeking change.
Why did you stop resisting that change? Or when did you stop?
Um, I think, gosh, that's such a good question. I haven't really reflected on it very much. So I wish I had a more intelligent answer for you. I've gone in and out of these periods my whole life where I've like either sought mastery on a niche topic or I've like pulled back and been like an observer of the world to kind of like figure out where I was going to go next. And when I get into these like mastery modes, my world shrinks a little, right? Like I have to go so deep that I like cut out a lot of people in my life. I cut out a lot of like the outside noise. Like I do a lot less other activities and I just like almost go like tunnel vision to like be excellent. And so I was in a period of like general observation where I was like really enjoying my life. Like I had like a great community that I was going to Orange Theory with. I had all these like girlfriends. Like I was spending all this like amazing time with my family. And then like all of a sudden I found myself getting into like that tunnel vision of like ultra endurance. And I was like, no, like I don't want to be an introvert right now. Like I don't want to like cut out my community and like everything. But like I almost like couldn't help it. I got like so drawn into it and so excited. And yeah, here I am. Like I do have a lot like fewer friends like years later than I had before. And I have, I've had to like say no to a lot of things. And so like I I love being in that like mastery focus mode in my life. It's like I feel alive and exhilarated. But I was enjoying the non-mastery mode that I was in, and I didn't like choose to go down it. So I don't know if that like answers your question or not, but
well, it's like different seasons of life. You have periods
yeah.
where you're pressing hard on these 3 of the 7 things that you're focused on. Then there are periods where you take your foot off the gas a little bit and recharge, and then decide to run 250-mile races.
Yeah, so I have no idea how much longer I'm going to be in this. Like I'm loving it right now. So I hope like I'm in it for a while, but yeah, you're right. Like at some point I will hit the pause button and back to being like an observer and a reflector of life and community. And, I look forward to that also. There are beautiful things that happen in both modes.
Okay, speaking of observing and reflecting, we both got to participate in Mount to Coast Double Boston to varying
Yeah.
degrees. I wrote a Substack on the the marketing implications of something like that, right? You go to a major marathon these days and everything looks the same, and every activation is basically, you could just like swap out the logo and the activation is exactly the same. Mount to Coast Double Boston was absolutely not that. It was core to the brand and nobody else could have done what they did. I'm curious what drew you into that campaign and what you saw from a marketing and media standpoint that intrigued you with the way that they did what they did, and the fact that your son ran the marathon.
Yeah. I mean, gosh, first of all, like how cool is that like my son got, like my 15-year-old son got so excited about a brand activation that he decided to like run a full marathon to participate in
At
it.
3 a.m.
Yeah, at 3 a.m. Like if that doesn't tell you that something is like successfully speaking to people, then like I don't know what other data point you would need. But yeah, I thought like I love when brands like are like wonderful storytellers and like really get to the heart of what drives people. But I also like when it's like feels very authentic. It's not in your face. It's like there's a real understanding of what people in the community want and what's missing, and like the brand fills that gap instead of just like here's like
Another
pastries
group
that we're
run,
handing
yeah.
to a truck. Yeah, here's another group run. Here's like your 19th espresso of the day at our like meetup hub. Um, like get a little more creative. Like we live in a world where like there's a lot of gaps that you can fill for people, and then like you can really be an authentic part of someone's experience. I mean, my son, again at 15, now only wears Mount to Coast shoes. Like he feels so proud of doing that marathon that like he only wears Mount to Coast shoes, and now like his friends are wearing them because like they, like what 15-year-old has an emotional relationship with a pair of shoes? Like no one. It's just like whatever their friends that are wearing is cool. But like he puts on his sneakers and he feels like pride about who he is as a person, like because of a brand activation that he took part in. And like that will be with him for the rest of his life.
Yeah, I think it's so cool when you can when you can do something that's uniquely that brand and it can have such an impact that he thinks about it in that way. And so it's a filter that I do a lot of brand partnerships and a lot of events and things like that. And it's a filter I've been taking to these conversations ever since. And it's like, what can we do together that I couldn't do with anyone else, because it wouldn't make sense. And it's a really hard filter and it's a really tough standard to hold yourself to, but it's a differentiator.
Yeah, I completely agree. And so I will also say like our whole family kind of has a relationship with Mount to Coast. They supported my Cocodona race as well. And yeah, I mean, I was unpacking my suitcase from the race and I pulled out like the pair of Mount to Coast shoes that I started the race with. And I was like, I put them on my windowsill, I'm 44 years old. I'm not the kind of person that puts like a sneaker on my windowsill, but like it meant so much to me that was like the shoe that I started this race in, that it's like I have like an emotional relationship with a sneaker. And so like that's the kind of thing I think if you're a marketer or if you're a brand, like just think about how you can build that kind of emotional relationship with a customer.
Okay, I'm going to pivot, but it's a pivot that's in line with this conversation while we're talking about sentiment. I listened to a guy named Michael on the Second Nature podcast talking about a platform called Sentium AI. And so it's basically a platform that runs an analysis, and I don't have any affiliation with Sentium. I just find it fascinating. It's a platform that runs you plug in your website and it will run 1,000 prompts to basically evaluate the trend like the sentiment of what people are saying about your product or service.
Awesome.
And so the idea is that like PR and earned media is making a comeback, and it's redefining the importance of storytelling and things that go beyond performance marketing and meta spend.
Yeah, no,
And the whole idea is like, we're humans. We learn from humans, and so many people these days are learning from AI, but it's like humans on Reddit, humans on Facebook, humans on YouTube that are feeding the algorithms this trend analysis. Have you thought much about how discovery via LLMs is influencing marketing?
it's a really good question. And I think like savvy brands like should be doing much more of this contextual advertising. Like, so for example, I put up a lot of like little stories on Threads and Instagram about my experience at Cocodona. And like one of the stories that I told was about how like I was at a low point in the race and my crew chief was like, Randi, like say one nice thing about yourself. Like she was trying to get me to pump myself up. And the only thing I could think to say, because I was so exhausted, is I was like, I have juice in my pockets. And it was a factual thing. We had put like 2 bottles of juice in the pockets of my vest. Like I did actually. And she started to be like,
You're losing
hey,
it.
that's not actually a compliment. Like that's like an observational fact. Like and then finally she's like, you know what? F
It'll
it.
play.
Like let's go. I'll take it. I'll take it as like a compliment.
Sentiment response.
Yeah. But like that story went like, probably that was like the most viral story that I told of my whole Cocodona experience. And like, if you were a savvy juice brand, you should have dropped like right into that and been like, hey, like Randi, need like a juice sponsor or need like juice for your next race, or like, or like change their motto to like today's motto is like pocket juice, or things like that. And I think yeah, this is where AI, like savvy brands can be like really tapped into like, okay, like what are like storytelling viral posts around like whatever we're creating, and how can we drop into that, and how can we like make a relationship with that? And like no one is really doing that very well that I'm seeing, and I'd like to start seeing more brands doing that better.
What does doing it well look like?
I think like having like first of all, like identify, like I think AI can really like help identify and bring to the top. But then like having kind of a tone of voice that's either like funny or emotional or like heartfelt or whatever like is in your brand guidelines, and actually like using AI to enable you to be more human as a brand, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I love that. Because again, we're all humans and we all buy from humans, and trust is, I think, an increasingly valuable asset. And in real life experiences and serious organic referrals and such will continue to be, I think, prioritized. But AI is kind of aggregating that at scale to say a lot of people believe in this, a lot of people like this, a lot of people recommend this. Going beyond, like, it's the features and benefits, but also the emotional response to those features and benefits.
Yeah, totally. I totally think so. And I think like this is where you might, like as a marketer, you're very busy, you might miss the fact
Signal,
that like
yeah.
like a whole group of people doing a niche activity are talking about your brand that you don't even like think about, but like AI can surface that for you in a way that allows you to like talk to different communities differently, or like understand how different types of people are using your product.
That's a great point. The specific call out of a way that a product is being used in a niche audience. Like I think about, I posted on Threads a while ago something about like eating applesauce pre-run. Like who else does this? And like 6 Olympians replied, and I'm like, why is Mott's applesauce not sponsoring Emily Infeld and Colleen Quigley and these types of people?
Totally. Or like, I think I made a post the other day about how like turns out like Rice Krispie treats are a health food, because it's like every like ultra endurance athlete eats them. And like, like if I was sitting in like Kellogg's or something, I would be like, whoa, there's like a whole group of people who like aren't just like buying our thing for candy. They're like buying it for fuel. Like, how can we lean into that? And I think, like if you're a marketer and you're not like running ultra marathons, you'd never like think about that. But AI should be able to give you like a full dossier on how like people across every niche are using your product and like help you be a better marketer.
And can quantify it to show you the impact.
Totally.
So, for example, like a DoorDash or an Uber Eats that partners with a race, I spoke with someone who told me that the partnership that they had with their race was the most fruitful, pun intended, sponsorship that this brand had ever done. And it's like, okay, it makes sense. You run a race, and when are people more captive than when they're sitting on their couch hungry? Like, that's perfect for DoorDash and Uber Eats.
Absolutely. It's totally perfect. So yeah, you're absolutely right.
Love it. Randi, this has been a blast. I feel like we could go for many, many more hours on this. Maybe we'll have to do another a running catch up that we record out here in Colorado.
I hope I didn't like go too deep on the running side for our business chat, but for me, they're very intertwined.
Well, that's the whole point, right? So I think that a lot of people don't realize how intertwined those things are, and so the feedback I've gotten from people listening is like they appreciate how intentional some of these guests have been around explaining the endurance and entrepreneurship overlap, because it makes them better at both. It makes us better at both by saying like, okay, I'm in sales, so the way I do sales is the same way I train for a race. Like, I can't do the thing on day one. I can't hit my quota on day one. But if I go for the 8-mile run every day, if I send my outreach, if I do my follow-up, if I do my mobility, like, these things are one and the same. And so getting better at one makes us able to be better at the other too.
I think that's spot on. I love it.
Awesome. Randi, where can we follow you if we want to follow along with your wonderful adventures of crossing finish lines in tutus 4 days later?
Amazing. Well, I have a show on SiriusXM called Randi Zuckerberg Means Business that you can listen to on 132 Business Radio. And then I'm very active these days, probably mostly on Instagram and Threads are the two sites I'm most active on. I'm at Randi Zuckerberg on both of those, but you can find me on almost any social media channel. And I'm super excited. I always love hearing pitches, hearing from entrepreneurs and from other runners.
Awesome. Randi, appreciate it. And we'll see you out there. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Long Run Labs. If you like this episode, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who's building something of their own. We'll be back next Tuesday with more stories at the intersection of endurance and entrepreneurship from the people shaping the outdoor industry in ways big and small. Until then, keep showing up, keep asking questions, and we'll see you out there.